Welcome, y'all. Movies, music, sports, and life. Y'all see, I had to nerd out and put my SpiderMan cap on. Um, I hope I'm not the only one feeling like this, and I may have to look on my phone to figure out when this movie I'm about to mention came out. I hope y'all don't think this is unprofessional, but I'm not so much of a nerd that I remember the exact dates to everything. But just for context, okay, 2018. All right. Avengers Infinity War, aka the Thanos movie. One of the first superhero movies that was done from almost entirely from the perspective of the bad guy. And as far as I can remember, it's also the only movie in comic book history where the bad guy won, which is insane. And they kind of cheated a little bit in Avengers Endgame to go back in time so that he wouldn't win. But if it left things as they were, the bad guy won the battle. And that's never happened before. But that was 4 years ago. Avengers Infinity War was 4 years ago. I promise you, I'm not just capping or I'm not tripping when I tell you that that was the last great superhero movie that came out that I can remember. I think Black Panther was the same year, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. If I'm off, if Black Panther came out in 2019, then forgive me on that. But the last superhero movie I went to that I was actually excited to be in there watching it, and the plot made sense, and it didn't feel like they were doing too much, was Avengers Infinity War, aka the Thanos movie. Maybe the two things I just said, that the movie was from a perspective of the enemy and also the enemy won. Maybe that's why I liked it, because it was something different that hadn't been done before. And I think the biggest thing about comic book movies, y'all gotta remember, man, when I was a kid, I was a child when Batman came out, 1989, when Prince did the soundtrack. I was a child. Dude, that was the only superhero movie that came out that year. Was Batman with Jack Nicholson as the Joker. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we all loved that movie. But look at how far we've come now. Like in '89, that was one comic book movie. This year, dude, this year we're gonna have. I mean, how many, man? I think. Well, if I just take last year and this year, Suicide Squad, Doctor Strange 2, Thor Part 4, that's 3. Shang-Chi was last year. The Batman, look, in just over 12 months, I listed 5. And I think when you have that many comic book movies coming out, and you got two different companies basically competing against each other, DC and Marvel, I think that it's just like the NBA dunk contest. Like, what else can you do? Now, I've basically been blabbering for 5 minutes and I haven't talked about this movie yet. But I think it's important to understand that I'm not just some Marvel hater or I'm not just some comic book movie hater. You know, I love these movies, but they just haven't been moving me for a very long time. So, for about 4 years, like, even this one, the Spider-Man No Way Home, the final one of that series with the little British kid, I mean, without the guest appearances from Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield as other two Spider-Men, it was just okay. They made the movie, I guess you could say, like an A minus, a B plus. But if they weren't in it at the end, it's just not that much. The Suicide Squad with Idris Elba, Shang Chi. I just think it's to the point. That's how I'm feeling about all these movies. And Doctor Strange was not that different. It feels rushed. Um, it feels it feels forced in the sense of a lot of white people are complaining about. I hate it. Oh, I want to strangle y'all when y'all keep talking about woke. But anytime somebody isn't white, they call it woke. They just want every character in every one of these comic movies to be white. And if it's any other race, they just being politically correct. It's kind of disgusting. But not so much that America Chavez was a Latino. It's just more of the fact that she pops up and you have all these stakes put on this, pretty teenage young lady. But honestly, how am I and everyone else really supposed to care about her if this is our first time meeting her or knowing anything about her? So that part felt rushed. Um, when they get into the Sanctum Sanctorum and all their students are using the energy fields that everybody that's trained with that magic to use. Okay, Wanda shows up and just wipes them all out. Once again, I know I'm supposed to have a heart. I'm a human being. But dude, Doctor Strange, he ain't introduced us to all these pupils. We don't know who these pupils are. We just know that they were there to protect the sanctum and they got wiped out. But how much am I supposed to feel for them? We didn't get any back. We didn't never saw them training in any one of these movies before. We just pop up. What, 5 years since the first Doctor Strange movie came out? 6 years since the first one came out, and now you got all these students, and we never got any introduction to any of them, so they get wiped out. And I think Marvel, a little bit even more so than DC, every movie just ends up being a CGI fest and just computer generated. Like Shang-Chi really had that problem. I enjoyed Shang-Chi more in the first half of the movie when they were in San Francisco. But then once they went to China, everything was CGI. All the monsters they fought, just everything. And it kind of takes you out of reality. I know these are comic book movies, but I would think by now they would have some technology to make CGI at least appear more realistic. So I guess those are two of the things I didn't like. I guess I'll get to the only thing about this movie that I did like. Dog, Wanda Maximov was terrifying. Like, hey, when she killed all of Doctor Strange's students, pupils, whatever you want to call them, his apprentice, that was one thing. Dude, the way she took out the Illuminati, dude, it was like they were nothing. So you really have to be a Marvel head if you try to survive this TV show called The Inhumans. Shout out to my cousin Booby, aka Tamara. Today is her birthday. She is the only one of my family members who lives in Hawaii, Honolulu, Hawaii. But that's where they filmed. For some reason, I'm real weird like that. Once I found out they were filming the Inhumans in Hawaii, I was just interested to see it. And I like Black Bolt on the Inhumans, and I like the big dog. I forgot his name, but the dog can do time travel. But this Illuminati, as a spoiler review, Black Bolt from the Inhumans was one of the Illuminati. Then it was Captain Carter, aka Peggy Carter, from the What If series brought to life. Then there was Rambo. I don't think it was Monica Rambo. I think it was Monica Rambo's mother. So she was the new Captain Marvel in this alternate universe. Mordo, Professor Xavier with the yellow chair from the animated X-Men series. And then the one everyone had been waiting for, Mr. Fantastic, Richard Reed. Dog, she killed all of them, dog. I mean, like, with no hesitation. I think she killed Mr. Fantastic the easiest out of everybody who she disposed of. And I can see why people would be upset with that. You know, they've been waiting to see this character all this time, and she just did away with him like he was nothing. The Black Bolt way, the way she killed him, she sealed his mouth shut. So anytime if your mouth is sealed, yeah, you're gonna panic, you're gonna scream. So when he screamed, boom, because you know Black Bolt speaks with sign language. He doesn't speak because when he speaks, it just kills anything around him. So that was smart. People complain about that death, but that was smart to me. Rambo, Captain Marvel, Black Captain Marvel, she was putting up a fight at first, but then she just figured out a way to just make a statue fall on her. She snapped Professor Xavier's neck. I mean, it was light work. You know, I mean, she didn't break a sweat taking him out. And I think it's messed up, but this is another one of those cases where Doctor Strange, he felt like a guest in his own film. Like, it's never good when you're not the best part of the movie. And I think that Doctor Strange is way better and way more entertaining in those small doses when he's in the Avengers movies, you know? And I think the challenge that Marvel has right now is who are you going to set up as our new Avengers? Because between this and Shang-Chi, and I hate to admit it, I'm predicting the same thing with Black Panther because we don't have our hero. Salute to Chadwick Boseman. A lot of these people don't have what it takes to carry their own film. Like, it's like Thor, Iron Man, maybe Captain America, but two out of those three are done. You know what I mean? So they have to, like, you know, Ant Man can't carry his own film. You know, that sequel to Ant Man was terrible. First one was okay, but you know, a lot of these guys, they are just not interested enough to carry their own film. So it's almost like you need the Avengers and Avengers movies to be able to get more life onto the screen, get more bang for your buck, for lack of a better term. And Doctor Strange just was not cutting it. In the end credit scene, now Charlize Theron, aka Mad Max, the girl from Mad Max with the shaved head. Now I guess she's gonna be some type of character. And in the comic books, I believe Doctor Strange either dates her as his girlfriend or they end up getting married. You know, but what can I say, man? Wanda Maximoff was off the hook. She was worth the price of admission. Her character basically allows her own self to be killed because she loves her kids that she created so much that she couldn't live with the fact that she scared her children in another multi-universe. But it really doesn't mean anything because Elizabeth Olsen will be back in another form of Wanda, because the one who was killing everybody and killed herself was a variant of Wanda. So it just gets real wacky, and it just becomes a situation where there's no rules and you really can't stick to anything because you can just make up whatever you want to do, whatever you want. But would I recommend it? I mean, I'm taking my mom to see it for her birthday next week. My mom loves the Marvel movies. Uh, I would recommend going to see it, but I would say you have to take off your normal Marvel thinking cap, your normal comic book thinking cap, and just try to have fun. Try not to hold it accountable to all the stuff that it's doing. And then maybe you can have a decent time. But I really feel like comic book movies are on life support. And unfortunately, I think a lot more people are going to start to lose interest because they're not going to stop making them. They're not going to start making comic books at a slower pace than they used to. So we're pretty much stuck with it unless they figure out some way to make these things amazing and interesting again. They're just going to be blah. Because the Batman was the other one. I didn't even review the Batman because I was so disappointed. I was so hyped up for it. And I'm starting to notice a pattern. The more I'm hyped up for a comic book movie, the more average it is. Salute. We out.